Hello all. I'm coming on today to talk about file types to help you understand the difference between your file types. And periodically, I will talk about this to help drive home um, your understanding of what is the difference between the different file types. Okay, so on my screen, I have three different file types. Okay. And depending on the file type will determine what type of project I can use that particular project or image for, okay? So this very first image here, this is a JPG. This is an image file that if I were to want to do like place this image on a mug or something like that, then this image would be fine. The only thing here is that this white background that you see, it's going to also be in my project. Okay, so normally your JPGs, file extensions, they normally have that white background or a background to them. Okay, so that's one way that you can tell that it's a JPG. And when you look over to the right side of your screen in Cricut Design Space, it says it's a cut and print. So it's going to print it out on your printer, then you put it into your cutting machine, and your cutting machine is going to cut a square. Okay, it's going to cut it just like that. It's not going to cut around this afro all nice and pretty. Okay, it's going to cut a square. That's your JPG. And normally when you purchase your SVG files, when you purchase those, they normally come with several different file types besides just the SVG. Normally, you would have a JPG, a PNG, and an SVG in there, and then it may be some other different types of file types included. It just depends on who created that SVG file. All right, so this is your JPG. If I wanted to use this, and let's say I'm doing a t-shirt transfer, I probably would not use this JPG because I don't want this background. And I'll show you how you can remove the background, but I wouldn't use this JPG to do a t-shirt transfer because, you know, we want it to look all nice and clean, so we don't want all of this white background in our or on our t-shirt transfer, okay? Now, this image right here is an it is a PNG, okay? So this particular file doesn't have the background. It looks similar to your JPG. And the only difference here is that you can still utilize this and put it into your printer and have your printer to cut it out like on your sticker paper or your printable vinyl. However, I do want you to understand that when you put it into your cutting machine, it is going to attempt to cut out parts of this PNG. Like this part of the bracelet, it's going to cut that out, okay? So if you were doing t-shirt transfer, I probably would not use this file because it still has cut functionality in it. It is going to cut around the afro like that, but it is also going to cut out these holes on the bracelet, okay, because it is still a cut file. Now, this image on the very bottom, this is your SVG. And the way I know that is because when I look over here to the right, it has all these different layers to it, okay? All these different layers to it to indicate that it is cut. So if I were to, you know, start deselecting some of these by clicking on the eye, you know, it gets rid of some of the information that's there. So let's say that, you know, I don't want the words to actually be displayed as they were, then I can just deselect those. Okay. So it's certain things that you can actually do with your SVG file that you cannot do with your PNG and your JPG. You get a little bit more flexibility. So let's say that on this particular area here, I want to, you know, change colors, then I can change the color. Okay, because it's an SVG file. However, you don't get a whole lot of flexibility with your PNG and your JPG. It is what it is. Okay, so I can't go in on my JPG and my PNG and start playing around with the colors. All right. So even though this PNG, it looks like it's going to do the same thing that the JPG does, it doesn't. This one is going to cut out a full square. This one is going to cut around the afro, and any additional cut functionality that's in this PNG, it's going to cut that out as well. It could be the way the person created it, it's going to cut out the eyes and the eyelashes. It could be that it's going to cut out the hands. It just all depends on what that cut functionality is, and I'll show you how you can tell in just a moment. And then your SVG, this is the one that you would want to actually use for your this is the one that would be good if you wanted to do heat transfer, but you're going to have several layers based on the coloring. Okay, so you will want to take that into consideration as well. But it is a cut file, so this one is not going into a printer. It's going directly to your cutting machine, and then it's going to cut out all of this good stuff in vinyl, okay, or whatever material you put it in, but it's going to cut it up. It's not going to print out anything. So if you put a white piece of paper in your cutting machine, it's going to cut out everything in white. There's not going to be any color to it at all. So your SVG gets its color from the HTV or whatever vinyl you're using. That's where it gets its color from. However, these two get their color from you putting it into your printer, okay? So the that's the difference between your JPG, your PNG, and your SVG. So those are things to take into consideration based on what you're trying to do, okay? And just knowing that even though this PNG says that it's going to print and cut, yeah, it's going to cut, but it's probably going to chop up a part of your portrait or picture image that you don't want cut, okay? All right, so that is a part of your tutorial today for file types, and hopefully you understand that, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how you can go in and clean up a JPG to use it if you wanted to do a t-shirt transfer where you don't have that white background. All right, guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, reach out. I'm always here to help. And you know how I like to end my tutorials, each one reach one so that each one can teach one. Have a great day, guys.